We're here to cut through the noise, get right to the core of some really complex issues. And today, we're pulling back the curtain on a meeting that feels, well, incredibly high stakes. It could genuinely reshape things globally.
Yeah.
We're talking about Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. They're set for a face-to-face August 15th, 2025 in Alaska.
Alaska, right. And the intrigue is, like you said, it's just huge. The potential implications, monumental.
Definitely.
And, what's really striking historically, based on the material we have, is this is their first one-on-one since, 2019?
Yeah, 2019. But there's more to it, isn't there? The location itself.
Exactly. It's the first time a U.S.-Russia presidential summit is happening on American soil since the late Cold War.
Wow, that context alone, it just screams that this isn't, business as usual.
Not at all. It feels weighted, historically speaking.
So the official line, the thing they'll say publicly, is it's about Ukraine.
Right. That's the stated focus.
But our sources, the material we've reviewed, it suggests the real mission, the underlying goal, is way bigger. Almost audacious, really.
How so?
They're talking about defining the post-war order. Think about that phrase.
Defining the post-war order. That's huge. It implies reshaping the whole global power structure.
Exactly. Maybe moving away from, the order we've known since the Cold War ended towards something maybe based more explicitly on spheres of influence.
Potentially. And this is where it gets really controversial, right? With Trump's reported idea.
Yeah, our material indicates he's floated this concept of a territorial exchange.
Leaning.
Essentially, Ukraine gives up some land, some territory, in exchange for peace.
Okay. And Kyiv's response.
Unequivocal, according to the sources.
Right.
A firm no. They're not interested in gifting land to an occupier.
Understandable.
Yeah.
And that strong rejection, it feeds into how our sources suggest we should view this whole thing, doesn't it?
How's that?
Through what they call the hard lens of realism.
Okay, realism. So stripping away the idealism.
Pretty much. Focusing purely on power dynamics. Who has the leverage? What the actual interests at stake? Where will the chips likely fall?
Regardless of principles or ideals.
Exactly. And the sources explicitly state it's often the smaller powers who end up paying the price when the great powers strike a deal.
Right. That's the stark warning. So for you listening, trying to make sense of this really complex moment, this deep dive, what we're trying to do is give you a concise but still thorough understanding.
Yeah, the strategic thinking, the calculations happening on all sides.
The red lines being drawn, the potential outcomes that our sources are discussing. We're going to unpack these, surprising proposals and the tough realities that come with them.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. When we look at the objectives, the strategic goals laid out.
For the U.S. under Trump and for Moscow.
Right. It really highlights the core tension here.
You've got this specific, very controversial idea on one side, the territorial exchange for peace in Ukraine.
Which territories, the sources don't specify, but the concept itself is the bargain.
A hard bargain, yeah. And on the other side, you have Kyiv, just standing firm, no gifting their land to the occupier.
And the material really paints a stark picture for Ukraine here, doesn't it?
It does. It talks about them being caught.
Between the ideals of sovereignty and the realities of raw power politics. That's the phrase used.
Yeah. If the U.S. and Russia actually manage to find common ground on their own big picture goals,
it's presented as a very real risk, not just theory.
And it pushes you, the listener, to really think about the implications of the U.S. strategic thinking described in our sources.
Which involves what exactly?
Potentially accepting, or at least acknowledging, a legitimate sphere of influence for Russia.
Particularly in Eastern Europe.
Right. And this calculation, according to the material, isn't just about military might. It factors in economic costs, domestic politics back home.
The whole global chessboard.
Exactly. And the driving forces seem to be, based on our sources,
Yeah.
end the war, cut the costs associated with it, and this feels key pivot U.S. focus.
Towards China.
Towards China. That sounds like a fundamental shift in global priorities if it plays out.
It absolutely does. And if we take that idea, that strategic calculus, and think bigger,
Yeah.
it really begs a question, doesn't it? If a major power like the U.S. openly says its strategy involves cutting costs here to refocus over there.
On another rival, like China.
What does that signal about long-term commitments?
Right.
About perceived stability for other nations, maybe nations caught in similar
Yeah,
situations?
even those fighting for their sovereignty.
Exactly. What kind of unexpected domino effects could a shift like that trigger? Maybe in completely different regions we aren't even thinking about right now.
That is definitely something to chew on, a lot to consider beyond just this specific meeting.
For sure.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this helps you continue to explore these really complex and frankly shifting global dynamics.